St. Kitts shares a very big pride in their country. I've been to St. Kitts many times, including Nevis as well. And if you go there, you arrive in paradise.
To be in an industry for 4 decades and still classified as one of the leading CBI in the world, it takes courage and it takes forward thinking. We're not in a transactional business. We're in a unified, connected link business.
St. Kitts and Nevis is often called the platinum standard. What, in your view, sets it apart from others? Welcome back to a very special episode today with His Excellency Executive Chairman, Mr. Juste of the Citizenship Investment Unit of St. Kitts and Nevis. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for taking the time of being here. Thank you. Now, St. Kitts and Nevis is a program that has been running for almost 40 years. We often refer to it as the golden standard in the citizenship investment industry. And today we would love to learn a little bit more from the man himself of what the future is, how the past and what did we learn from it, and how is the program generally evolving and what are the future plans of it. We'll jump in the first question.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Juste, could you share with us a little bit of the vision as the new head of the Citizenship Investment Unit of St. Kitts and Nevis?
Absolutely, Doc. So what I would say is St. Kitts and Nevis Citizenship Investment, we function really on 3 core pillars. The first, which is very critical, is our robust security. And that is key in terms of being the longest and first citizenship investment program in the world. And we were able to do that by ensuring that we have a very strong due diligence and vetting process. It is critical to protect our program, but most importantly, we protect the applicants, but also most critical, our borders and our international partners' borders. So we continue to ensure that that vision remains for 40 years, 4 decades. The second critical piece that we have from a visionary perspective is unmatched efficiency. What we have seen is over the years, efficiency is key. And we have invested in innovative technology. We've invested in a new digital platform that we call Saturn. And that enables us to efficiently and quickly vet and process the application from a digital perspective. And that's critical for both our operational process from an efficiency perspective, but also from our investors who wish to ensure that things are done completely well. And then lastly, I would say the third pillar from what that vision, from my standpoint, is authentic partnership. And when we talk about authentic partnership, it is critical. We're not in a transactional business. We're in a unified, connected link business. And that is really critical so that when we implement various policies, various reform, that we create a vision of partnership, genuine link to the investors. And I'll speak more on some ways that we are doing those. So that is truly my overarching vision for this program.
Wonderful, yeah. I think one point that was very well said is especially pillar 2, mainly because I believe that our clients, they're very, very ready to pay a premium. And within the premium services, often, especially in this part, I would say, of the world, where timing is extremely important. And if somebody says, I'm going to invest this and this much, what do I get in return for it? One of them that they really look for is, I wouldn't call it speed of the process, but the punctual service. Meaning if we as advisors assure our investors that it will take 6 months or it will take 12 months, that these timelines are met in order for the client then to be able to go out there and make their plans based on the investments that they're doing. Thank you for that. If you look back a bit at the program's long history, what aspects would you like to preserve and what changes do you envision for the future?
Really good question. Being in this industry for 40 years, it really gives you an opportunity to see what we call global shifts. And we've seen shift over the years, 4 decades, and to be in an industry for 4 decades and still classified as one of the leading CIU in the world, it takes courage and it takes forward thinking. So when we talk about what we would like to preserve, we wish to preserve that heritage of our applicants or investors knowing that they have the trust and integrity in a program that has lasted for many, many years. And so security is important. I want to ensure that we've gotten and lauded a number of awards and by our international partner based on our enhanced due diligence processes. And that has to be remained. Now, in terms of what to change, it's really thinking about new and innovative ways to enhance the program. As I mentioned, we're in a technology advance space. And the program being 40 years, we have been heavily intensified by paper. And that has to change. And so with the new digital platform that we have introduced with Saturn, we're not just making our processes more efficient, we're also creating transparency. So with this new technology, investors and our trusted partners will have insight to see step by step where the application is along the line. And that will provide and give you confidence to ensure that when an investor or your clients ask you, what's the status of my application, you can confidently provide that response, knowing that that is real time. So these are some of the changes. And lastly, as I said earlier, we want to have a more partnership. We're moving from transactional. So we're introducing new offerings. One of the new offerings we will be providing is what we call our concierge VIP service. So what that is going to do, it's really going to bridge a continuation where our applicants and clients will now be able to have the prestige of understanding what this new citizenship means for them. It will be connecting them to various additional investments, sustainable green investment. It will give them more efficient processing in the application. It will give them dedicated concierge managers so that the communication can continue. And also we'll be introducing them to curated financial services. So for example, we've partnered with various banking institutions that ensures that our applicants and our clients can truly have the true wealth planning and wealth management aspect that they desire along with their estate planning. So as I said, we're moving away from a transactional program, which is just a one-time connection, to a continuation of what this new program looks like.
And I think that is also because St. Kitts shares a very big pride in their country. I've been to St. Kitts many times, including Nevis as well. And if you go there, you arrive in paradise, okay? I think not enough people actually make the time to go and visit. It is far from certain standpoints, let's say, but it really is worth it because when you arrive there, it's really that you get that Caribbean feeling, but with organization, meaning you will be able to dine in a very beautiful restaurant and at the same time you can go to the beach and have a little snack. You can take a boat and you go visit Nevis, for example. There are some of the top hotels chain in the world, such as Park Hyatt or the Four Seasons in Nevis, okay, and Park Hyatt in St. Kitts. So for everybody watching that, we highly recommend to make that time at some point in life, go and visit, for some people at that point, the home country. Now, Mr. Juste, you have not an easy job when it comes to keeping everybody happy, right? Because you have, for one, the clients, of course, you have the agents, but most importantly, you also have the population of St. Kitts and Nevis. How do you balance that interest between investor, agent, and of course, the population of St. Kitts?
Really good question.
Okay.
Because keyword is balance.
Yeah.
So I think for me, really, it's really getting to a point on answering that one question in my decision making. Does this action strengthen our nation? and the genuine value for citizenship. And so every action that is taken has to approach that decision-making framework. And so, yes, there's an element of the investment supporting the development of St. Kitts and Nevis, ensuring that our citizens continue to elevate from a social structure perspective and from a nation building, but also ensuring that our investors have a value proposition in their investment. And so each of those decisions has to take that into consideration. So firstly, how's the investment truly tripling to the actual needs of our citizens in St. Kitts and Nevis? And that can be in the development of road infrastructure, the use of the investment to build new hospital, use of the investment to ensure we have climate resilience, security in water security. And so we've curated our programs to ensure that that is gained. So our sustainable islands declination goes directly, doesn't go into government coffers simply as unfortunately the wrong perspective, but it goes directly into these national goals. And then also curated by our public benefit actions. And so we have been sure that we balance the nation's need, but also the investors' need on speed of the application, efficiency, but also where is this investment? And for our international partners, seamless. And so with our public benefit options, that has created us to ensure that we have that transparency. And what we have currently is around 5 public benefit option projects. So we have our Creative Art Center that's been delivered by private government who's here in the Dubai region. We have also affordable housing that will be developed and delivered to middle-lower income families, and that's being delivered by Clive Furl. We have a continuation of making sure tourism sector continue to be innovative, and that's with the delivery of the expansion of a feasible design and eventually construction of our RLB airport. As you said, you visited, so we want to get more flights, and that's done by CIDC. And then we also, we have a need for continual water security, and so our partnership and the great work that has been done with the desalination initiatives and various employment by Marriott brand in St. Kitts and Nevis. And then lastly, critical for the future generation, which our education, and that is really the building of our high school, Bastia High School, to St. Kitts, to continue the future generation so that all the future leaders, when I move on, can step into these seats. And that's been done by a Maloney Group, within the region. And so these are ways we're balancing both the nation's need, but also investing in us. Okay.
And to this, one quick funny story. In fact, we have one client, German guy. He went for a cruise in the Caribbean in 1992. That was even before I was born. But the citizenship program just started running, let's say. It had its first interest, although it was launched, of course, a little bit earlier than that. Back then, it was not in such a high demand. It was not such a big topic to have a second passport. So anyways, with this, we sit down and discussed different options. And he looked at St. Kitts and Nevis, and he says, you know what, Jeffrey, I was there in 1992, and that was not a country I would love to be a citizen of, okay? It's like, okay, why is that? It was very underdeveloped, there was nothing really to do, etc. I was like, okay, fine. Maybe you should go and visit again, in fact, okay? Because a lot has happened during those 30-something years, okay? His feedback, he went ahead with the program, he took the passport. About 6-7 months later, he decided to go and visit, and he could not believe what the country has become compared to 1992. Okay. Now, of course, different things had influence on that, like tourism, obviously, but all of this, we believe, could have not been put in place without the incoming funds of this citizenship by investment program. And for those reasons, I think a citizenship by investment programs, first and foremost, is always in the main interest of its citizens to raise the standard of living and to have an infrastructure built that allows to host tourists and therefore generate additional income for a country. Now, St. Kitts and Nevis is often called the platinum standard, right? Now, you mentioned a few words already related to that, but maybe add something. What, in your view, sets it apart from others?
The word platinum is key. I'll step back a bit. We talk about platinum standard. It's really on three key points. It's about heritage, it's about security, and it's about value. When the Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Dew, came into power in terms of leading the nation, he had to make a very difficult choice. He had to step back and he looked at the program, where it works, and he had to make a decision around how do I continue to use the word platinum when it was not reflective for platinum. So made some very, 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 very strong reforms, even to the tool where some of the revenues actually were impacted. But that's true leadership. That is leadership where you have to make a decision for future generations, not for the moment. And so heritage is important. And I keep mentioning we need to ensure that we preserve the aspect of heritage. Myself from a personal career perspective, I work in some of the world top investment banking and private banking. And one of the key things you've learned is the heritage. How did we remain at the top of the pinnacle in those areas? It's because of the foundation. And so having that the aspect of knowing that we were the first to architect this industry, knowing that we continue to be the longest, we want to ensure that is remained to our investors and our clients, that they can feel confident. Those who would have gotten the passport from 1984 and 1985 to this day, they can pass it, they can be proud of that nation. The second key piece is security. So the world is changing, and we need to ensure that we are de-risking. And so we've implemented various ways, as is mentioned, our enhanced due diligence. We have also implemented various AI components to de-risk our program, so we can see various patterns and ensuring that security gives our international partners that confidence that we, at every applicant, is vetted with international law enforcement. We also use to ensure that the financial transaction, that we partner with financial intelligence unit so that we understand where the source of income and wealth is coming, so that we can ensure that we protect the program. And then lastly, the value that the investor is getting, the value that someone who decides to participate in our program is not just simply buying a passport. That is not something we consider. And so to be a platinum, you have to move away from the traditional context. Our program is not just by price, but we encourage others if that is what they so desire. But we are platinum. And as a platinum, and to continue the journey set by the Honorable Prime Minister to be the first sustainable island state in the country in the world, we have to preserve and rise above on that level to ensure that the investment goes directly to the contribution and growth of our citizens in St. Kitts and Nevis, but ensure that our program can definitely stand the test of time and remain as the platinum as we indicated.
Amazing. And one of those actions was also this 30-day visit requirement, right? I think that St. Kitts heavily supports in order to attract those citizens to the country, feel more connected to the island, and based on that also goes back out there as more of a citizen that has seen the country they're holding a passport of. How do you say that's shaping the future?
The key word is, I think people assume a 30-day requirement is a challenge. It is not. It is a connection. So we have to use the right C. It is a connection. And so the 30-day visit requirement, it's really a strategic reform that really is done to strengthen our program. it demonstrates our proactive commitment to ensuring that our economic citizens truly have a genuine link to the country, truly can align to our nation building aspect. They can forge a true community, visiting the country, seeing exactly where the investment is, having that. Also, what it enables us is to ensure that we are partnering with the needs and concerns of our international partners, the international community. We're not an island of ourselves. And so we partner to hear concerns. We ensure that we can provide that level of trust, that level of integrity. So that's important. And the applicants have that personal connection. I think you've mentioned you visit Nevis. I'm sure you may have had the well-known beverage.
Called Killer B. Called Killer B. Not more than 2.
But it gives an individual a pride. And St. Kitts and Nevis is not just simply giving you the opportunity to have visa-free access to over 160 countries, including the EU, chicken. But it also gives the individual the aspect from a wealth building perspective. It gives them the opportunity to know that the assets are protected. We have no personal income tax, no capital gain tax. We have no inheritance tax. And we have one of the world's strongest trusts, with sister island Nevis. And so by giving the curation of that 30-day requirement, it gives the applicant the opportunity to have a solid connection and a genuine link, ensuring that they have chosen the right citizenship, as mentioned, that true premium brand.
Amazing, very good. Also, some parts that you mentioned already related to the next question, but we would love to go a little bit more in detail. What measures are in place to ensure that the program maintains its strong reputation for due diligence and transparency?
Absolutely. So every single applicant goes through enhanced due diligence. And we do a very, very robust vetting. We actually, unfortunately, reject more than we accept. And we do that with a context of knowing that every individual that comes through our program has been appropriately vetted. We introduce biometric, our biometric passport that's recently also has gotten international award. And with that enhanced due diligence, the investor and you as our stakeholder partners can be confident that the program will not be tainted. And so our enhanced due diligence is key. The other area is that, as I said, the digital oversight that we have. With the implementation of this new digital platform, it creates a traceability. We can know every digital footprint of the applicant. We can have an auditability of all the application. We now have the opportunity to ensure that we can transact and provide information to share with our international law enforcement quickly. And so we can now have that opportunity. And then lastly, what I would say is the partnership that we have. We have a very strong international collaboration with both the EU, the US, and the UK, and also within the regions, with the OECS and the regional regulator. And myself recently have right to the EU to ensure that we understand what the concerns are and we address them immediately. We're having future meetings with our international partner in the next month or so that they can see what progress we have made. And so these are some of the key things that we're pulling together to ensure that we can demonstrate the longevity of the program. The introduction of biometrics for every applicant is critical. We're in a new world, and so we want to ensure that we streamline these processes to maintain and continue for this program for its longevity of being the first and being sort of the longest running program in the world.
And that is what a lot of the clients ask us. They ask us, what are my chances to get approved? I tell them very clearly, if you're honest in your application, if you do not have a criminal record, if you've been a good person, if you can deliver all the documentation, if you make the investment accordingly, there is very, very little to worry about. But I always tell them, you know yourself best. Would you accept yourself? for the citizenship or not. And based on that, they can make a decision whether to take their chances or not. And I always tell them very, very direct. Look, St. Kitts and Nevis, they only want the best of the best for their program. And that, what you need to think to yourself is, do you belong to that category? And if yes, you only want the people from that category to be with you in that bag, let's say. Because in case St. Kitts and Nevis would accept, 10 people with a bad history, this will directly and negatively affect you as an investor, because it can potentially risk a visa waiver with a certain country. And for those reasons, due diligence and compliance is the number one when it comes to a citizenship by investment program, to make sure these visa-free access and the reputation of the country is preserved. How do you respond to the perception that CBI programs are just transactional, and what makes St. Kitts and Nevis approach more meaningful?
Yeah, as with every industry, there's always a perception until you're part of it. Yeah. And I think historically, there's that view that the CBI is a one-time exchange. And we're moving away from that. It has always been an investor who gets a passport and they're no longer connected to the country. And historically, it was perceived in my previous world as a plan B. We're in a world of plan A. And plan A is, how do you now ensure that you're leveraging and activating this new citizenship, this new home, this new world that is important for your family, your safety, your security, but also to ensure that you can transact economical value. And so that perception we have now ensured by some of the reforms, as mentioned, making that genuine link. It is no longer a one-time transaction. It is now ensuring that there's a continuation, the introduction of a 30-day requirement to ensure over 5-year timeline, giving the flexibility. We understand individuals may not be able to do that 30-day one, but so it's over 5 years. That's very critical to denote. For the investor, it's really giving them the opportunity for that lifestyle, as you mentioned. The Caribbean in of itself is not only about it's important that you remember it's a pristine and safe area with luxurious hotels and nice beaches and rainforests, but also we provide economic benefits. We have that aspect of even being with our local currency. The Eastern Caribbean dollar has been pegged to the US dollar for 45 years at EC 2.7. That gives an investor strong encouragement of stability, strong encouragement of strong political stability in our country for generations. So we have that. And lastly, what I would also indicate is ensuring that we create continual services and support and provide that level of ease of doing business, so that individuals are not only seeing this as a one-time transaction, but a continual authenticated, as Pillar 3 said, authenticated partnership with St. Kitts and Nevis to support our citizens in the continual economic development and sustainable growth for every citizens back in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Well said. For those who may have never visited, what makes St. Kitts and Nevis such a unique and beautiful place to call home or to invest in?
The way I position it, and it's funny, I ordered a little note here. So, suppose your eyes and you imagine imagine pristine beaches, imagine lush rainforests, and a warm, welcoming community. And then you open your eyes and then you see this society that is underpinned by remarkable economic and political stability. as mentioned, we have a very strong currency. It gives you that level of asset protection. And so for investors, those premier investors, coming to St. Kitts gives you a balance of both. It gives you a balance, as you said, you can have a nice warm drink, killer bee or beers, mainly. Walk along the beach, have the beautiful sunshine, get the west breeze. But then as business individuals, as I am a business individual, having worked over 20 plus years in the financial institution, you can then sit and know that you can begin having a wealth planning process. You can now ensure that your economic value and ensuring that you can continue to have the partnerships that ought from a family lifestyle of safety and security, political stability, but also from a wealth planning and investment perspective that your assets will be protected. You combine that together, that's a rarity that you will see in countries around the world.
And I think that visit is so crucial because of exactly that, because we had so many clients that said, I just did it for the passport. Then they go visit and they become extremely patriotic about the country that they hold the citizenship of, okay? We even had a lot of times people that, come from a certain country where they say when they're introduced, I'm from St. Kitts. We started to have that because they're sometimes already second generation now of having that passport, okay? And maybe they have been spending Christmas or New Year or a nice spring vacation on the island. And for those reasons, that connection got stronger. And for a lot of people, they consider themselves now, or even, the country where they are from, technically. How do you see tourism, real estate, and infrastructure benefiting from the CBI programs in the coming years?
Yes. So it is important that the CBI program is seen not just, as I said, a transactional, but it leads to a catalyst of sustainable development. The funds that come into the program and what it's being used for, it's used for infrastructural development. Our sustainable island state contribution donation, that goes to finance the national infrastructure. And that national infrastructure revolution that we have, as you mentioned, with the bike, that is going to ensure that we have new roads, we have new hospitals. When individuals visit, they can feel confident if something were to happen to them. We have state-of-the-art infrastructure. We have water security and climate resilience projects that ensures that we have the nation that continues over and over. And that is the benefit of that is where we citizen, both within St. Kitts and Nevis and even from a visitor perspective. The other aspect is the real estate. So we see our real estate continuing to drive high demand, high-end development. We have the continual development and building of various luxurious villas, and we see these as critical for our tourism aspect. St. Kitts and Nevis, I'm here in Dubai. And it's interesting because as I speak with various agents and various individuals, I hear the context of, I can't wait for the World Cup to take place. And what that tells me is people are going to travel to the U.S., but they may not be aware that St. Kitts is roughly more or less 4 hours to 3.5 hours from there. And so we want to encourage them. And so we're working closely along with our tourism partners and foreign ministry to begin the advertisement to say we're only a hop, skip, and away while you are there. And that in of itself will connect individuals as they're traveling here. So with the continual use of the investment, as I mentioned, as part of our expansion in the airport, that will allow us to accept more flights. With the injection of the funds and investment into development of new hotel luxurious villas, this will also support us having tourists coming in and can allow this thing. But also, most importantly, it creates jobs on the ground. It is important to understand that this investment has elevated the lives of our citizens and individuals and people, as you said, now are proud to indicate that their investment has truly benefited in this country that they call home. And now they can actually come and visit and stay if there's a desire into the home that they themselves has raised the standard and the development over the years.
Nice one. How does the government work with international stakeholders to keep the program aligned with global standards?
It's important, and I keep sharing this with individuals, because yes, we are a sovereign nation, but we're not an island up by ourselves. And the Citizenship by Investment program is a program that enables individuals and their families an opportunity to now have a pathway to, from a mobility perspective, but also from a wealth planning and preservation perspective. And so St. Kitts and Nevis has always been the leader, both at the international frontier, as I mentioned, the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Chu, along with the Attorney General, the Honorable Gatwalton. They sat down and really put pen to paper on how do we ensure that the reforms are aligned and keep making sure that these reforms, along with the cabinet members, ensure that the program maintains the integrity. But they did not do that in a vacuum. This was done in partnership with our CIU, our Citizenship Investment Program in the Caribbean, so the OECS. We sat down around the table with our international partners, and we made bold decisions. As you would be aware, we made the decision that we were not going to be part of the journey to race to the bottom. And so we raised our standard. And by raising our standard, we made a premier price point that we will be a comfortable state in. Because, as you said, being in this business of 40 years, it's no longer a one-time. We have individuals who are past, who are now participating, their family, from grandfathers to great-grandfathers to fathers, sons. It's something to pass generational. And so we want to make sure that we are adhering to the international partners' concerns, should there be any, and we are demonstrating. And so St. Kitts has continuously led in the front. Biometric integration, we are leading as well into in that space. We realize we are in a new world of and we have to be ready to be able to provide that intelligence at a moment's notice, to share various strategic, intelligence, financial information, connecting the world, so that, as you mentioned, that each applicant that comes through the program, we are confident, and our international partners are confident that these individuals will not create a posal risk, both financially or otherwise, to build. And then lastly, what I would say in terms of us being leading into this space is really around the continuous due diligence, the continuous sitting at the table with our international vetted and reputable law partners to find innovative ways, leveraging AI to de-risk the program, using different ways to ensure that we keep this program aligned with global standards. And so in the coming months, we're going to be meeting with our international partners. We're going to sit around the table. We won't have Killer Bee, but we will have Amiable, the board is but the intent is to hear their concern.
Yeah.
To hear what their concerns are. Yeah. And we share as well, because it's a balance. It is a balance to ensure that we get the right applicants. It's a balance to ensure that the investment is being used as it needs to be used for the development of the country. And then our citizens can feel and see that this investment is truly impacting their life. So St. Kitts continues to lead. We continue to be the ones leading in the front of having partnership with the call for having various standards. We continue to lead in ensuring that we call for the regional regulator to have an authority body to oversee all of the programs, and not in a way of a negative, but to showcase that we've been here for 40 years. We've seen the ups and downs, and we know what it takes to ensure that its programs continue to stay and sustain themselves 40 more years in the benefiting of both the investor, but most importantly, the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Well said. I think we learned a lot today about the past, the future, but also the present of St. Kitts and Nevis, not only about the program, but also about the country itself. And like Mr. St. Juste said many times, you're the right applicant. If you really feel that this is the right program for you, please feel free to inquire, ask any kind of question you may have related to the program, and we will be extremely happy to get in touch with you and have a conversation with you. His Excellency, Executive Chairman, Mr. Juste, thank you so much for being here today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Absolutely.